Captain G1 gripped the control panel of his merchant ship, Stellar Dawn, as sweat dripped down his face. Through the viewport, he could see 5 massive pirate vessels closing in on Research Station Alpha 7. The station looked so small and helpless against the dark metal hulls of the attacking ships. "This is Commander Minho of Alpha 7 Station," crackled the desperate voice over the radio. "We have civilians here. Families, children, scientists. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help." Ji-won's hands shook as he reached for his weapon. Controls, knowing his small cargo ship stood no chance against 5 pirate cruisers. His crew of 8 looked at him with fear in their eyes. They all knew what pirates did to merchant ships. They took everything and left no survivors. The pirate ships moved into attack formation, their weapons charged with an ominous red glow. Research Station Alpha 7 had maybe 2 minutes before complete destruction. The station's tiny defense guns were already firing, but their shots bounced harmlessly off the pirate shields. "Captain," whispered his navigator Yuna, "we should run. There's nothing we can do." But Ji-won couldn't move. On that station were 300 innocent people. Scientists studying new medicines, engineers building better communication systems, families who had come to start new lives in the outer colonies. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth. Suddenly something streaked past their ship, a single figure in brilliant silver armor, moving through space without any visible propulsion. The armored person landed hard on the station's main, docking bay with a metallic clang that echoed through the station's hull. "What was that?" gasped G1's engineer Hana. The station's communication system crackled to life. A deep mechanical voice spoke with absolute confidence. "Pirate vessels, stand down immediately. Leave this system now, and no harm will come." "To you." The pirate captain's laughter filled the radio waves. "1 person, against our entire fleet. You must be joking." "I gave you a chance," the mysterious voice replied calmly. "Stand down. I'll handle this." What happened next defied everything Ji-won thought he knew about space combat. The armored figure somehow launched from the station directly at the nearest pirate ship. Moving faster than should be possible, the warrior tore through the ship's hull like it was made of paper. Explosions lit up space as the first pirate vessel's engines failed. The warrior was already moving to the second ship before the first one started drifting helplessly. Ji-won watched in amazement as this single person fought like an entire army. The second pirate ship tried to flee, but the warrior caught it easily. Through his ship's sensors, Ji-won could see the armored figure moving through the pirate vessel's corridors, and one by one, the ship's systems went dark. "Impossible," breathed his co-pilot Tai. "No one moves that fast. No human can do that." The third pirate ship fired every weapon it had at the warrior, but somehow every shot missed. The warrior moved like they could predict where each blast would go before it was even fired. Within minutes, that ship was also drifting powerless in space. The remaining 2 pirate vessels didn't wait to find out what would happen to them. Their engines roared to life as they jumped into hyperspace, abandoning their disabled companions and fleeing as fast as their ships could carry them. Space fell silent except for the gentle hum of the research station's life support systems. Commander Minho's voice came over the radio, shaky with relief. "This is Alpha 7 Station. The threat has been neutralized. All civilians are safe." But when Ji-won looked for the mysterious warrior, they had already vanished, leaving only questions and 3 disabled pirate ships floating in the void. 3 weeks after the Alpha 7 incident, Station Commander Hyuk sat in his office reviewing security reports from across the Outer Rim colonies. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he couldn't stop reading. Every report told the same impossible story. "Tae, get in here," he called to his security chief. "You need to see this." Security Chief Tae entered, still wearing his patrol uniform. "What's got you so worked up, Commander?" Hyuk spread the reports across his desk. "Look at these. Kepler 7 mining colony. 23 families rescued from slave traders. The rescuer, single armored figure, mechanically altered voice, vanished before anyone could thank them." Tae picked up another report. "New Seoul Station. Corrupt administrator. Caught selling weapons to pirates. Again, mysterious warrior in silver armor, same voice pattern." "It gets better," Hyuk continued, pulling out more files. "Titan's Edge farming settlement. Raiders attacking civilian transports. One warrior stops 12 armed ships, doesn't even wait for payment. Tay frowned as he read through the accounts. Commander, these reports are from different sectors. We are talking about distances that would take weeks to travel between, but these incidents happened days apart. That's not even the strangest part, Hayek said, activating his desk display. Security footage from various colonies played on the screen. Watch how this person moves. The footage showed the armored warrior in combat across different locations. On Kepler-7, the figure moved through a slaver camp like water flowing around. Rocks. Every movement was perfectly calculated, never wasted. On New Sol, the warrior seemed to predict exactly where enemies would be before they got there. Pause it there, Tay said, pointing at the screen. Look at that dodge. The enemy hasn't even finished pulling the trigger, but our mysterious friend is already moving out of the way. Hayek nodded grimly. I've shown this to 3 different military analysts. They all say the same thing. No human can react that fast. Our reflexes just don't work that way. Maybe it's the armor, Tay suggested. Some kind of advanced prediction system. I thought so too until I saw this. Hayuk played another clip from a mining station attack. The warrior moved through complete darkness when the station's lights failed, fighting 6 opponents simultaneously without missing a step. No sensors work that well. This person was fighting blind and won without getting hit once. Tay sat down heavily. So what are you saying? This isn't human? I'm saying I don't know what to think anymore. Hyuk pulled out a communication log. Listen to this voice analysis. The warrior's mechanical voice played through the speakers. Citizens are safe. Threat neutralized. Our computer systems can't identify the original voice pattern, Hyuk explained. Whatever's modulating that voice is more advanced than anything we have. But here's the interesting part. Sometimes the modulation glitches. He played another clip where the voice flickered for just a moment, revealing something different underneath, something that didn't sound quite human. The colonies are calling this person the Guardian, Tay said quietly. People are starting to believe someone is watching over them. That's the problem, Hayek replied. What happens when people find out their Guardian might not be one of us? Will they still feel safe, or will they panic? Tay studied the reports again. Does it matter? Look at what this person has done. Hundreds of lives saved, criminals stopped, pirates scattered. If this Guardian wants to help humanity, maybe we shouldn't question their methods. Maybe, Hyuk said, but doubt remained in his voice. Or maybe we should be asking why someone with these abilities is helping us at all. What do they want in return? Outside their office window, stars twinkled in the endless darkness of space, and somewhere among them, the mysterious Guardian continued their silent watch over humanity's scattered colonies. Crime Lord Biom slammed, his fist on the metal table, making his expensive whiskey glass jump. His underground hideout on Nero Station buzzed with angry voices as his lieutenants delivered one bad report after another. The Kepler-7 operation is finished, reported his scarred Lieutenant Quan. Our slave ships are destroyed. The mining colony deal is dead. What about New Sol? Biom growled. Administrator Park is in prison. He gave up all our weapon shipment routes to save his own skin. Biom's face turned red with rage. For 20 years he had built his criminal empire across the outer colonies. Smuggling, extortion, slave trading. He controlled it all. Now one mysterious warrior was destroying everything he had worked for. This Guardian is costing me millions, Biom snarled. Every operation we plan gets crushed before we can make a profit. Quan shifted nervously. Boss, maybe we should avoid the colonies for a while. Focus on the inner systems where this Guardian doesn't seem to operate. Run away? Biom's voice was deadly quiet. I don't run from anyone. If this Guardian wants to play hero, I'll give them a real challenge. 2 days later, Biom's plan was in motion. His men seized mining platform Omega-3, a small operation with 42 workers and their families. The platform hung in empty space, far from any help. Perfect, Biom smiled as he watched the platform through his ship's viewport. Let's see how brave this Guardian is when innocent lives are at stake. Quan coordinated the trap from the platform's control room. Boss, we have 50 armed men positioned throughout the station. Heavy weapons, energy shields, the works. When the Guardian shows up, we'll hit them from every direction. Among the Hostages. A young engineer named Ari tried to comfort the frightened children. She had heard stories about the mysterious Guardian, but wondered if anyone would really come to help them so far from civilization. "Attention, Guardian," Biom broadcast on all emergency frequencies. "I have 42 hostages on mining platform Omega-3. Come alone, or I start executing them one by one." The reply came within an hour. That same deep, mechanical voice that had become legend throughout the colonies. "I'm coming. Release the hostages and you can leave unharmed." Biom laughed. "You're in no position to make demands. Come and face me." 12 hours later, a small ship approached the platform. Ari watched through a porthole as the familiar silver-armored figure landed on the docking bay. Her heart raced with hope and fear. "Here comes our hero," Quan radioed to his men. "Remember, we want them alive if possible, dead if necessary." The Guardian walked slowly through the platform's corridors, hands visible and empty. Ari could see them on the security monitors that Biom had left active to watch the show. "They know it's a trap," she whispered to another hostage. "But they're coming anyway." The first ambush came at Junction 7. 10 armed men opened fire from hidden positions. The Guardian moved like lightning, but even they couldn't avoid everything. Energy blasts sparked off their armor, leaving scorch marks and small holes. "Got you," Quan shouted over the radio, but the Guardian kept fighting. More hits landed, making their armor spark and crackle with damaged systems. Any normal person would have fallen, but the Guardian fought with strength that seemed impossible. During a brief pause in the fighting, Ari heard something strange. The Guardian's voice modulator was glitching from battle damage. For just a moment, she caught a glimpse of what lay underneath. A voice that was definitely not human male. It was higher, more musical, almost alien. The Guardian continued, through the platform, taking hit after hit but never slowing down. Each damaged system made their true nature harder to hide, and Ari began to wonder who their mysterious savior really was. The massive cargo ship, Dark Horizon, drifted silently through the asteroid field, its hull painted black to avoid detection. Inside its cramped holds, 200 kidnapped colonists waited in fear, not knowing if they would ever see their families again. Engineer Hana pressed her face against the small porthole of her prison cell, watching space debris float past. She had been captured 3 weeks ago when slavers raided her research station. Now she was being transported to the Rimworlds to be sold as forced labor. "Another ship approaching," whispered Dr. Yoon from the cell next to hers. "Maybe rescue?" Hana squinted through the porthole and saw a familiar silver glint. Her heart jumped. "It's the Guardian! They found us!" The slaver ship's alarms began blaring as the mysterious warrior's ship attached to the outer hull. Captain Griggs, the slaver leader, screamed orders over the intercom. "All hands to combat stations. Kill that armored freak before they reach the prisoners." Hana watched through the security monitors as the Guardian cut through the ship's hull with some kind of energy blade. Even from the damaged footage, she could see the warrior's armor was badly scarred from previous battles. Pieces were missing, wires sparked from damaged joints, and the once shiny surface was blackened with blast marks. "Their equipment is falling apart," Hana muttered, her engineer's eye catching every detail. "How are they still fighting?" The Guardian moved through the ship's corridors with a fluid grace that made Hana's breath catch. Despite wearing bulky, damaged armor that should have made movement clumsy and slow, the warrior flowed like water around obstacles and enemy fire. "That's impossible," she whispered. "No human moves like that in heavy armor." The first group of slavers opened fire with automatic weapons. The Guardian dodged bullets that seemed to come from everywhere at once, moving in ways that defied physics. When the armor's damaged servos should have made quick movement impossible, the warrior somehow became even more graceful. Then the lights went out, emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. But even that failed when a stray shot hit the ship's main power coupling. Complete darkness fell over the cargo vessel. Pilot Nari and her co-pilot Yuna were trapped in a maintenance shaft, watching the battle through a damaged air vent. "The Guardian's helmet display just went dark," Nari whispered urgently. "Look at that damage. Their visual systems are completely fried." "They can't see anything," Yuna replied in horror. but in the darkness below them, the Guardian continued fighting. 6 heavily armed slavers surrounded the warrior in the main cargo bay, firing blindly into the black. The Guardian moved between them like a ghost, striking with perfect accuracy despite being completely blind. "This is impossible," Nari breathed. "No human can fight in total darkness like that." The warrior seemed to know exactly where each enemy was, before they even moved. When one slaver tried to sneak up from behind, the Guardian spun and struck before the man could raise his weapon. Another attempted to circle around, but the warrior was already turning to meet him. "They're not using sight," Yuna realized. "They're sensing them somehow, but humans can't do that." Within minutes, all 6 slavers lay unconscious on the floor. The Guardian stood motionless in the darkness, then began moving toward the prisoner, cells with the same impossible precision. Hannah heard the energy blade cutting through her cell door. When it swung open, the Guardian's damaged helmet was right in front of her, sparks still flying from broken systems. "Citizens are safe," came the mechanical voice, but it sounded different now, glitched and distorted. For a moment, Hannah thought she heard something else underneath, something that didn't sound human at all. "How did you navigate in complete darkness?" she asked as they moved through the ship. The Guardian paused for just a moment. "Training," came the simple reply, but Hannah didn't believe it. No amount of training could explain what she had witnessed. As they escaped the slaver ship, Hannah couldn't shake the feeling that their mysterious savior was hiding something much bigger than anyone realized. Colony ship New Haven hung helplessly in space, as strange alien vessels surrounded it like predators circling wounded prey. The ship carried 15,000 civilians, farmers, teachers, doctors, and children, all seeking new lives on the frontier world of Kepler Prime. Marine Sergeant Shin checked his weapon for the 3rd time as his squad prepared for the worst. "Hostile aliens, unknown species," he muttered to Corporal Day. "Intel says they've been raiding human settlements for months, taking prisoners and technology. First contact with a new alien race, and they want to eat us," Day replied grimly. "Just our luck." The colony ship's captain had sent distress signals across all frequencies, hoping someone would respond before the aliens broke through their shields. That someone turned out to be the Guardian, the mysterious armored warrior who had become legend throughout human space. Shin watched through the observation deck as the Guardian's ship approached the alien vessels. "How's one person going to fight 6 alien ships?" His question was answered quickly. The Guardian didn't attack the alien vessels directly. Instead, they did something unexpected. They flew straight toward the largest alien ship and somehow convinced it to lower its shields and let them aboard. "What the hell?" Day whispered. "How did they know to do that?" Through the colony ship's communication system, they could hear the Guardian talking to the alien leader, but the conversation wasn't going the way anyone expected. "Your hunting pack lacks the seasonal markers for territorial expansion," the Guardian's mechanical voice said calmly. "This is opportunistic feeding behavior, not organized warfare." Shin and Day looked at each other in confusion. "Did our Guardian just analyze alien hunting patterns?" Shin asked. Dr. Kim, the colony ship's xenobiology expert, stood nearby listening with his mouth open. "I've studied alien behavior for 15 years, he whispered. "I have no idea what the Guardian just said, but it sounds like they understand these creatures better than I do." The situation escalated when negotiations failed. The alien raiders decided to board the colony ship anyway, cutting through the hull with energy weapons that melted metal like butter. "All Marines to defensive positions," Shin shouted as his squad moved to protect the civilian areas. The Guardian arrived just as the first wave of alien boarders entered the ship. Shin watched in amazement as the armored warrior moved through the corridors, but something was very wrong with their fighting style. "Day, you seeing this?" Shin called out during a brief pause in the fighting. The Guardian was using combat techniques that no human military had ever developed. When facing the insect-like alien raiders, the warrior struck at joint connections that human anatomy experts didn't even know existed. Against the larger, bear-like aliens, the Guardian used pressure points that paralyzed the creatures instantly. "Where did they learn to fight aliens like that?" Day panted, reloading his weapon. Our military academies don't teach xenocombat because we've never fought aliens before. But the most disturbing moment came when a group of aliens tried to surround the Guardian using their species' natural pack-hunting instincts. Without hesitation, the Guardian countered with tactics that seemed designed specifically to confuse and scatter that exact type of group behavior. "It's like they've fought these creatures before," Shin muttered. "But that's impossible. First contact happened 3 hours ago. Dr. Kim joined them behind a makeshift barricade, his face pale with realization. Sergeant, I've been studying the Guardian's tactical choices. They're not fighting like a human who learned about aliens. They're fighting like someone who instinctively understands alien psychology." "What are you saying, Doc?" "I'm saying the Guardian predicts these creatures' moves the same way I predict human behavior, like it comes naturally to them." The final proof came when the alien pack leader, a massive creature covered in natural armor plates, tried to intimidate the Guardian using a display of dominance that was unique to their species. The Guardian responded immediately with the exact counter-display that would establish superiority in alien culture. "No human knows that behavioral pattern," Dr. Kim whispered in shock. "I didn't even know it existed until I saw it just now," as the defeated aliens retreated to their ships. Shin couldn't shake the growing certainty that their mysterious protector was hiding something fundamental about their identity. "Corporal," he said quietly to Day, "what if the Guardian isn't human?" At all, the colony ship. New Horizons shuddered as another explosion rocked its hull. Captain Guillaume gripped his command chair as sparks flew from damaged control panels around the bridge. Outside, 12 pirate vessels had surrounded the massive passenger ship carrying 8,000 colonists to their new home. "Shields at 30%, reported his tactical officer. "We can't take much more of this." The pirates weren't interested in destroying the ship. They wanted to capture it intact. 8,000 people would bring a fortune on the slave markets, and the ship itself was worth millions. Captain Guillaume knew his small security force couldn't hold off trained pirates for long. Then the Guardian arrived. The mysterious warrior's ship was smaller than before, clearly damaged from previous battles. Scorch marks covered its hull, and one engine sputtered weakly. But it still moved with deadly purpose toward the pirate fleet. "Guardian to New Horizon," came the familiar mechanical voice. "Protect the civilians. I'll handle the pirates." "Guardian, there are 12 ships out there," Captain Guillaume responded. "Your vessel looks badly damaged." "Understood. Beginning attack run." What followed was the most brutal space battle Captain Guillaume had ever witnessed. The Guardian's ship dove straight into the pirate formation, weapons blazing. But the pirates were ready this time. They had learned from previous encounters and brought heavy plasma cannons specifically designed to penetrate advanced armor. The first plasma blast punched through the Guardian's ship like it was made of paper. The second hit disabled the engines. The third sent the small vessel spinning toward New Horizons' docking bay, trailing smoke and debris. "Guardian's ship is critically damaged," the tactical officer reported. "They're making an emergency landing in Bay 7. Captain Guillaume watched through the security cameras as the Guardian's ship crashed into the docking bay, sliding across the metal floor in a shower of sparks. The pirates immediately launched boarding pods, knowing their main threat was wounded. "Arnie, security teams to the docking bays," Captain Guillaume ordered. "Protect the Guardian at all costs." But when the airlock opened, Captain Guillaume gasped at what he saw. The Guardian's armor was in terrible condition. Huge holes had been burned through the chest plate, revealing twisted metal and sparking wires underneath. The left arm hung at an unnatural angle, clearly damaged beyond repair. Any human wearing that armor would be dead. Yet the Guardian stood up and began walking toward the incoming pirates, as if nothing had happened. Each step left small puddles of some kind of blue fluid on the floor leaking from the damaged armor. "How are they still moving?" whispered Security Chief Mina over the comm. "Those hits should have killed them instantly." The Guardian raised their weapon and began firing at the first wave of pirates. But something was wrong with their voice modulator. It sparked and crackled with each attempted word, until finally it died completely, with a small puff of smoke. From that moment on, the Guardian fought in complete silence. Captain Guillaume watched in fascination as the warrior began using hand signals to communicate with his security teams. But these weren't standard military signals that human forces used. The gestures were fluid, graceful, and seemed to convey complex tactical information with movements that looked almost like a dance. "Captain," said his communications officer, quietly, "I've run those hand signals through our military database. They don't match any known human sign language or combat signals." More pirates poured through the breached hull, firing plasma weapons that burned through walls and melted metal. Supports. Each hit that struck the Guardian's armor tore away more protection, revealing glimpses of what lay beneath. Captain Guillaume leaned forward in his chair, trying to see more clearly through the security feed. The damaged armor was exposing patches of what looked like skin, but it had a strange blue tint that definitely wasn't human. "Enhance Sector 7 Alpha," he ordered. The image zoomed in just as another plasma blast struck the Guardian's damaged helmet. For a split second, before smoke obscured the view, Captain Guillaume thought he saw something impossible, a glimpse of features that were beautiful, definitely female, and absolutely not human. The Guardian continued fighting through corridors, filled with smoke and fire, their movements becoming more fluid and natural as pieces of bulky armor fell away. Whatever was inside that suit was finally being revealed, and Captain Guillaume realized their mysterious protector had been hiding much. More than just their identity. The Slaver Fortress on asteroid Black Rock had been built into the hollow core of a dead moon. For years it served as the main hub for human trafficking across 3 star systems. Thousands of innocent people had disappeared into its dark corridors, sold to the highest bidder, and never seen again. Today, that was going to end. Lieutenant Min crouched behind a makeshift barricade in the fortress's main corridor, watching the Guardian prepare for the final assault. The warrior's armor was barely holding together after weeks of continuous battles. Whole sections were missing, revealing twisted metal framework underneath. "Guardian, you need medical attention," urged Medic Yoon, her field kit ready. "That armor has more holes than protection left." The Guardian's response came through a crackling, dying voice modulator. "Mission, first, civilians need help." Ahead of them lay the fortress's central chamber, where over 300 kidnapped colonists were being held. Intelligence reports indicated 50 heavily armed guards, automated defense systems, and a layout designed to make rescue impossible. "This is suicide," Min muttered to his squad. "Even the Guardian can't fight 50 enemies in that condition," but the Guardian was already moving. The moment they stepped into the main chamber, every weapon in the room opened fire. Energy blasts, projectiles, and plasma beams filled the air like deadly rain. What happened next made Medic Yoon drop her medical scanner in shock. As the Guardian moved to avoid the incoming fire, pieces of damaged armor began falling away completely. First the left shoulder guard, then sections of the chest plate, finally most of the leg protection. But instead of revealing the broken, bleeding human she expected to see, Yoon caught glimpses of smooth, blue-tinted skin that seemed to shimmer in the harsh light. "That's not human skin," she whispered to herself. Without the weight and bulk of the heavy armor, the Guardian's movements changed completely. Where before they had moved with impressive but limited human-like grace, now they flowed like liquid mercury. Dodging weapons fire that should have been impossible to avoid, striking enemies from angles that defied physics, Lieutenant Min watched in amazement as the Guardian moved faster than his eyes could track. One moment they were across the room, the next they were behind a group of slavers who hadn't even realized they were being attacked yet. "Corporal J, are you seeing this?" Min whispered into his comm. "Sir, the Guardian just moved 30 meters in less than 2 seconds. That's not humanly possible." The Guardian's natural reflexes, no longer restrained by bulky armor, were operating at superhuman levels. When 3 slavers tried to surround them, the warrior seemed to sense the attack before it even began, spinning away from danger with movements too fast and fluid for human biology. More armor pieces scattered across the floor as the Guardian fought through waves of enemies. Hyun could now see that the warrior's arms were definitely not human, longer than they should be, with joints that bent in slightly different ways, covered in that strange blue skin that seemed to absorb and reflect light. "Lieutenant," she called. "Urgently, we need to talk about what we're seeing here." But Min was too focused on the battle to listen. The Guardian had reached the prisoner holding area and was systematically dismantling the security systems with knowledge that went far beyond human understanding of slaver technology. The warrior's helmet remained intact, the only piece of equipment still functioning properly. Through its damaged speakers, the voice modulator occasionally crackled to life. "Citizens, safe, soon." But even that mechanical voice couldn't hide what was becoming obvious to everyone watching. The way the Guardian moved, fought, and even stood wasn't human. Their natural reflexes were too perfect, too precise, too alien. As the last slaver fell unconscious and the prisoner cells opened, Medic Yoon stared at their mysterious savior with growing certainty. The Guardian wasn't just hiding their identity, they were hiding their entire species. "Who are you really?" she whispered. But the Guardian was already moving toward the next group of prisoners, their true nature becoming harder to conceal with each piece of armor that fell away. The final battle came at Dawn Station, humanity's most important research facility on the Outer Rim. Crime Lord Beom had returned with an army of mercenaries, determined to capture the Guardian once and for all. This time, he brought enough firepower to level a small city. Captain Ji-won stood on the station's command deck, watching enemy ships surround them like a swarm of angry hornets. 67 hostile vessels, reported his tactical officer. "They're not here to negotiate." The Guardian's ship approached through the enemy formation, but everyone could see it was barely holding together. Months of constant fighting had taken their toll. The hull was patched with emergency repairs, weapon systems sparked and misfired, and the engines left a trail of blue flame that meant critical damage. "Guardian, your ship won't survive another battle," Ji-won called over the radio. "Understood," came the familiar mechanical reply, "but the people of Dawn Station will." What followed was the most desperate fight anyone had witnessed. The Guardian's ship dove into the enemy formation, taking hit after hit from overwhelming firepower. Explosions bloomed across its hull as system after system failed. Station engineer Hana watched through the observation deck as the Guardian's ship finally broke apart under concentrated fire. "They're going to crash into Docking Bay 12. The ship hit the station's hull like a meteor, tearing through metal plating and emergency barriers. Smoke and fire filled the docking bay as emergency crews rushed to respond. But before they could reach the wreckage, armed mercenaries began pouring through the breach. Beom's forces had followed the Guardian's ship inside, turning the docking bay into a war zone. Through the smoke and chaos, the Guardian emerged from their destroyed ship. Their armor was so damaged it barely qualified as protection anymore. Huge sections were missing, sparks flew from exposed wiring, and the once silver surface was blackened with battle damage. "There's our prize," snarled Beom's voice over the mercenary comm channels. "Take them alive if possible, dead if necessary." The Guardian raised their weapon, but it sparked and died. Their backup systems failed one by one. Even their voice modulator was crackling with damage, making their words barely understandable. 50 mercenaries surrounded the lone warrior in the center of the docking bay. This was it, the final confrontation that would determine the fate of Dawn Station and everyone aboard. The first energy blast came from directly in front of the Guardian. They dodged with that impossible fluid grace, but more shots came from every direction. One blast struck their chest plate, tearing away the last major piece of armor. Another hit their damaged helmet, sending cracked spider webbing across the visor. Captain Ji-won and his crew watched from the safety of an observation window as the Guardian fought with desperate fury. But even they couldn't avoid everything. A massive explosion erupted right next to the warrior, and when the smoke cleared, their helmet was completely gone. The entire docking bay fell silent. Where everyone expected to see a battle-scarred human soldier, a completely different figure stood in the clearing smoke. The person before them was undeniably beautiful, with smooth skin that glowed with a soft blue light. Long silver hair flowed past her shoulders, and her large violet eyes seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. She was clearly female, clearly not, human and absolutely stunning. "Impossible," whispered Engineer Hana. She's not one of us." The alien woman stood gracefully among the scattered pieces of her destroyed armor, no longer hiding behind mechanical disguises. Her movements were naturally fluid and elegant, like a dancer who had been forced to wear clumsy costumes for far too long. "She's Kithara," gasped Dr. Yoon, the station's xenobiologist. "I've read about them in ancient texts, but they were thought to be extinct." The Kithara were legendary among the galaxy's older civilizations, a species known for incredible combat abilities, electromagnetic senses that let them predict attacks before they happened, and skin that could withstand damage. That would kill most other beings. The mercenaries stared in shock, their weapons temporarily forgotten. They had come to capture a human hero, and found themselves facing something far more extraordinary. The beautiful alien woman looked around at the assembled humans with those ancient violet eyes, and for the first time in months she spoke in her natural voice, clear, melodic, and definitely not human. The docking bay remained frozen in stunned silence as the beautiful alien woman stood among the wreckage of her disguise. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was like music, soft and melodic, completely different from the mechanical tones everyone had grown accustomed to. "My name is Sola," she said, her violet eyes meeting the gaze of each person present. "I am Kithara, and I have been protecting your people for over 2 years." Captain G1 felt his world shift. Everything he thought he knew about their mysterious guardian had been wrong. You're not human," he whispered through the intercom. "No," Sola replied simply, "I am not." The mercenaries who had come to capture the guardian were backing away slowly, their weapons still raised, but their confidence shattered. They had prepared to fight a human warrior, not face an alien species they had only heard about in whispered legends. "Why?" asked Engineer Hannah, her voice carrying across the bay. "Why did you hide from us? Why help humans at all?" Sola's expression grew sad as she looked at the frightened faces around her. "Because I knew this would happen. I knew that the moment you learned what I truly am, everything would change. Fear would replace gratitude. Suspicion would replace trust." Dr. Yoon stepped closer to the observation window, his scientific mind racing. "The Kithara were supposed to be extinct. Where have your people been?" "Scattered across the galaxy," Sola answered. "My species learned long ago that most other races fear what they don't understand. We live in hiding, watching, sometimes helping when we can." Lieutenant Min, who had fought alongside the Guardian countless times, felt confusion and betrayal warring in his chest. "So everything was a lie? The armor, the voice, pretending to be human?" "The disguise was a lie," Sola admitted. "But my commitment to protecting innocent people was real. Every life I saved, every battle I fought, that was real." She gestured to her blue-tinted skin, which seemed to shimmer in the harsh station lighting. "My people are born with natural armor beneath our skin. We can sense electromagnetic fields, which is why I could predict your enemy's movements. Our reflexes are faster than most species, because we evolved on a world where only the quickest survived." Captain G1 found his voice again. "You could have lived safely in hiding. Why risk everything to help strangers?" Sola's violet eyes brightened, with something that looked like hope. "Because I have watched humanity for decades. I have seen your capacity for both great cruelty and incredible kindness. When I saw innocent humans suffering, children being sold into slavery, families torn apart by pirates, colonies destroyed by raiders, I couldn't stand by and do nothing." "But why us?" pressed Medic Yoon. "Why not help your own people instead?" "Because," Sola said softly, "sometimes the measure of who you truly are isn't found in helping your own kind. It's found in helping those who can never repay you, who might never even accept you." The mercenaries were retreating now, clearly unwilling to fight a legendary Kithara warrior. Crime Lord Biom's voice crackled over their comm systems. "Fall back, all units fall back." As the immediate threat faded, the humans on Dawn Station were left to process what they had learned. Their greatest protector, the Guardian who had saved thousands of lives, wasn't even human. Engineer Hannah spoke for many when she said, "I don't care what species you are. You saved my life 3 times, you've saved all our lives." "The question isn't what you are," added Captain G1. "The question is who you choose to be, and you chose to be our protector when no one else would." Sola smiled then, the first genuine smile any of them had seen from her. "Your species has something my people lost long ago," she said. You still believe that anyone can be a hero regardless of where they come from. You judge others by their actions, not their appearance. Dr. Yoon nodded slowly. The greatest human champions aren't always human. Sometimes they're someone who chooses to embody the best of what humanity can be. As Sola stood in the ruins of her disguise, surrounded by the people she had sworn to protect, she realized that her greatest victory wasn't any battle she had won. It was the moment when humanity looked past her alien nature and saw her for who she truly was, a guardian who had chosen love over fear, protection over safety, and hope over despair. The real question wasn't whether humans could trust an alien protector. The question was whether they would let fear destroy the bridge that had been built between two very different peoples who shared the same dream of a better galaxy.